I'm going to be installing a dashcam in a Mazda CX-60. I'm installing this Transcend Drive Pro 250. Right, the dashcam is going to be installed about here, which means I'm going to run the wire along here. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove the cubby hole, and then I'm going to wire it to the fuse box. On this vehicle, the steering wheel is on the right. So that means everything I'm going to be doing is on the left. Right, make sure everything is off. I'm not disconnecting the battery, but for best practices, you could disconnect the battery. Right, my first step is to just pull down on this beading. So all I do is I just pull it down. I don't have to force it, it comes out quite easily. Right, I just need to remove this panel. The technique is to go to the right. So you can put your one hand here and the other hand on the other side and just pull in this direction. Right, so I've just pulled like that. Right, now with a bit of a gap there, I pull it upwards towards me. So I'm just sliding it up a little bit. Right, so it's come up a little bit. Notice I've lifted this out a little bit. Now this is what it looks like on the inside. What I want to do is I want to twist that. I released this black plastic tab, which was seated in that hole. It was like that, and I just twisted it, and then it came out of this hole. If this clip falls out, don't worry, you can just slide it back in like that. Now that's what it looks like on the inside. So all I need to do is slide it out. So I'm just taking my hand and just sliding this out. Right, so this is what the unit looks like on the inside. Notice that this mates with the vent on the inside. So all I needed to do was slide it out. Right, to remove the glove compartment, just open it. On the side here, there's a dampener. You can just twist it. Just a gentle tug and it will come off that nipple. I then place my knee here to support the glove compartment. Then on the side, I just squeeze it on that side. And at the same time, I squeeze it on that side. Once both sides are squeezed, you'll notice that that nipple is released and it's open on that side as well. Now I release the whole glove compartment going downwards. Notice that it's almost falling towards the floor, and then I just pull it towards me. And that is what the hinge system looks like. Now for this installation, I'm using a hardwire power cable. This is what it looks like. What it does is it converts the car's 12 volts to 5 volts, which is used for the dash cam. So I'm now going to wire this to the car directly. Right, so that means I'm going to run the wire along here. I'm going to open these clamps where the other wires are running. I'm going to run it along here, all the way down here. And then I'm going to go down here and I will catch it just below the glove box. So the wire will then travel down here, along here. Right, so this is the cable that is going to feed the dash cam. So I'm going to take this cable and I'm now going to route it. Since the fuse box is here on this side, I'm going to open it, and a little bit later I'll be connecting directly to the fuse box. But now what I want to do is I want to route the wire. So I'm going to go behind here and route the wire from here, and I'm going to come out there. And the reason why I'm starting from the bottom is because my power supply has this box, and I'm worried that I won't be able to get this box through that space there. So that's why I'm starting from the bottom. Right, I've got this cable tie, which I'm just going to put in here so that I can locate the cable tie, and then I can just pull on the cable tie, pull the wire up through the dash. And there is the cable tie, and I've tied it to my wire so that I can just pull this through. Right, so I've plugged mine in, and it's going to run along here. Now I've just put some tape there just to hold the wire in place for now. Right, there's the tape just holding it in place. Now I'm going to thread the wire under this panel over here. Now something we don't want is this thing to knock about. So what I recommend is wrapping this with double-sided tape, or if you've got a sponge tape, you can also use that. Pulling the ceiling panel down, and I'm pushing the wire inside here. Notice how nice and thick this is. Notice I've got the tape, got the sponge, and this will never rattle. Now I'm coming out over here, and I want to thread this in this pink connector over here. Right, to open this pin connector, I have to press down here, and then I have to lift this. Now I just need to put the wire with the wire that's already there. Right, just a note, I'm coming in from the top. Notice that I'm on the top row. I don't go anywhere near the airbag. See, the airbag is at the bottom here. So I'm running my wire with the wire that's already there. And now I can fasten the connector. So notice there's no way that my wire can rattle. Now this material tape is also commonly used on vehicles. It's sticky on the one side and it's material on the other side. And just as an example, I've wrapped the wire here. I just want to show you that if I tap it on the car, it still makes a rattle. So even with this tape, you've got to be careful. Now what I do is I've taken this very sticky double-sided tape and I've completely wrapped the wire. So the wire is completely wrapped in it. Now what I'll do is I'll thread the wire down through there, and I will just let the wire stick along the route. On the CX-60 with a sunroof, there is this tube. This is to drain the sunroof if there's water there. Now, if you don't have that, you can just carry on along the wire here. You'll probably have this wire over here, and you can just stick it down. This will never rattle. And if you're still worried about rattles, here's a spare piece of double-sided tape. So I'm going to place it on the wire. I'm going to feed it through, and then this is going to be resting on the wire. If the wire moves, it'll immediately stick onto something. There, I've put the tape in. This wire will never move, and it doesn't matter if the tape bunches up like that. That actually improves its ability to stop rattles. Now there comes the wire through the dash. I'm going to make it a little bit taut, and I'm just going to tie it to one of these wires along the root. Now because there's metal on the top there, and that's the only thing the wire is resting on, I'm not worried about rattles because it has been wrapped in that material tape. In this case, the material tape will not rattle on the metal, but if it was plastic, yes, it would rattle. Right, there's the dash cam wire coming through the back. I've cable tied it onto this. Notice that my wire is wrapped in the material tape. Even if I wobble it and try and knock it around, there is no rattle whatsoever. It is not resting on anything. It is actually quite taut. Then I've just used a cable tie. I prefer to use cable ties because tape fatigues over time. Now we are en route towards the fuse box. Right, I'm now by the fuse box, and I just want to show you that if I use one of these piggyback fuses, notice the profile of the piggyback fuse is too high. So say for example, I wanted to put the piggyback over there, I won't be able to close the cover. So in this case, I'm going to have to hardwire it to the power cable at the back here. So I just need to get this cover off. There's a press pin at the back here. I just insert my screwdriver on the edge there, and there the pin opens, and I can just pull it out with my hand. So all I need to do now is pull it, which I've done, and you'll notice there is a push stud or a push pin here, and that goes in there. So I've just pulled that. I just need to lift the door protector just a little bit, and then I can slide the fuse cover out. Right, I've pre-checked these fuses, and the one over here, this fifth one in this column, which is actually labeled F5, is for the old-fashioned cigarette lighter inside the vehicle. Next to the wireless charger, there is an accessory outlet which has this type of plug. In the old days, it was the cigarette lighter. Now, this fuse supplies that outlet. So this is the right place to wire your dash cam, because this is for the accessory, and if the power of the vehicle, if the vehicle is switched off, this goes off, which is right. We don't want the dash cam to drain the battery when the vehicle is off. Now I'm going to quickly demonstrate what I mean. I have my voltmeter here. I've set it to DC volts. I'm now going to connect the positive to the fuse and the negative to the chassis of the vehicle. Right, I'm putting the negative on the chassis there by the door, and over here I'm putting the positive on the fuse. Notice the meter says 0. Now notice the vehicle is off. Now I'm just going to get it in the accessory position. All right, so some items have come on. So there is the voltage, just under 12.5 volts. So this is the accessory position. It's like on the old cars when you put the key in and you only turned it to the first position. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate that this is indeed the outlet by the cigarette lighter. All right, so I've plugged in a tire pump and I'm going to turn it on, and it's working. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out this fuse. All right, so I'm just removing that fuse, and now when I try to turn on my tire pump, nothing. There's no power. Fuse returned. And when I return it, there it works. And if I now turn the car off completely, car's off, even though the tire pump is still plugged in, it won't turn on because this turns off when the car goes off. So that's the fuse I want to use. Now this dash cam did come with this hardwiring kit. Now the 12 volt is going to come from the vehicle, then it's going to be converted to 5 volts. So I need to get the positive, the 12 volts, from the fuse box. Now in my case, my hardwiring kit did already come with a fuse. You see there's an inline fuse and it's 2 amps. But if yours did not come with a fuse, you will need to put your own inline fuse. That just means that we'll connect to the vehicle on the one side, then there's an inline fuse, maybe 2 amps or 3 amps, then this will go to your converter box to convert the 12 volts to 5 volts. It must be fused. Now, because I'm not using a piggyback fuse, I'm going to have to locate the wire at the back here, and that means I need to determine which wire is going to this number 5 fuse. In this case, on this vehicle, it's this pink wire over here. So the green wire is supplying the voltage to the whole rail. The blue wire is the fuse number 4. Pink wire is fuse number 5. So all I need to do is to use a clamp to either clamp my wire to this wire. So that means I'll put them together like this, and then I will then just clamp it using one of these types of clamps. Now in my case, I'm just going to hardwire it. So I'm just going to use my wire strippers and just make a small incision here. So I'm using wire strippers because they do not cut right through the wire. The mouth leaves a little hole there, and I'm just going to take my wire strippers and I'm just going to pull on this wire a little bit, and there we can see I've exposed some of that copper. There we go, that's all. Now feeding my converter box is a red wire, which is the 12 volts, and then the black wire, which is going to be the 0 volts, which is going to be connected to the chassis of the vehicle. So I'm first wiring the 12 volts. Now the vehicle is off, so there's no voltage here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap that like that. Now for this next step, you will need a soldering iron. I'm just going to take my soldering iron and I'm just going to solder onto this pink wire. Now I'm just going to tape this up. So there is the accessory wire after the 15 amp fuse, and then it goes to my dash cam 12 volt supply wire. Now I'm threading my fuse wire here with this wire because I don't want any rattle whatsoever, and I'm just going to use a cable tie. Now, of course, you could have put your fuse lower down. You could have just left your fuse on the side here, making it easy for you to get to, but I want it completely out of the way. I don't want to be able to see it at all. It's not going to blow. All right, so to get this in, I push this in as far as it can go. I'm not mounting it yet, I'm just pushing it in. Then I lift this, then I let there's going to be a big clump of cables that are going to run in through here. There's the cables. I'm going to seat this over those cables. Right, there's a piece that's going underneath there. There's the push pin over here, and then I can just seat this like that. Then I just press down. Right, I can even put the fuse box cover back on. And then the push pin at the back, make sure that it is in the open position. This is the open position, and then I just insert it there. Once it's in, I then push on the pin. Now the power supply for the dash cam also needs a negative wire. This is the negative or 0 volt wire, and this can be connected anywhere to the chassis. So there's a position over there one could use, and there you can see how Mazda has actually wired onto the chassis doing the same thing. So you could also open that nut and then just install your negative wire there. There's actually another one hiding behind here. There's one. You could open that screw on this side and then just put your negative wire over there. I'm going to use this. There's a hole waiting for me. Since my negative wire is a spade, I'm just going to use a nut and a bolt and 2 washers. And then I'm going to use this hole over there. Right, so that now becomes my 0 volts. Now the only problem is I have all of this stuff, which now needs to be wrapped. I don't want this rattling. Right, there is a little space in this little box here. So I can insert my little power supply. You could just put yours on the side. Right, I just tied my power supply box with a cable tie to this little enclosure here, the steel enclosure. Just remember, we are going to be putting the glove compartment back, so we don't want anything in the way of the travel. When we tape up all these wires, we want these out of the way. Right, this is the leftover wire. It doesn't matter if you coil it like this because it's just DC. So now I'm just going to tie these wires using a cable tie. The power supply is over there. There I've strapped the leftover cable to a cable that is running there. It is light, it's not going to add any pressure. Notice that this is completely out of the way of where the glove compartment is going to go. There's no loose wires. I've even pressed in some double-sided tape there and there, so even this wire cannot rattle. This wire here cannot rattle. It is quite far away from that metal, and the red wire going to the fuse is also nowhere near anywhere it can rattle. Now it's time to return this panel. Notice these 2 white plastic protrusions. They are going to seat in there, and the one at the back. Now this sponge here is where the vent tube is going to sit. So I get this quite straight, and then there at the bottom I just slide it into the slots. Right, so I've pressed this down, but it's not all the way in. Notice the line is actually there. The reason being is I need to get this plastic piece to get through this hole here. So I'm just extending this with my hand, and then I'm going to twist it, get it in that hole. There, it's coming through. Right, now I can let it turn. Now, once I've got that in place, I can actually press this down all the way. So notice it went in there. Now I can just press this. I just do a quick inspection. My wires are completely hidden. Right, to put the beading back, make sure the chassis goes in the slot here and just massage it in. Give it a massage. When you go around the corner, just make sure to push it all the way in. So you want to be quite firm here. Make sure all the seams are completely aligned. There's no flaps, there's no wobbles. Just check for that. We don't want that. So what you want to do is you really want to push it in. And yours should look like this. To return the glove compartment, just seat the hinge like that. So notice that the glove compartment is almost falling out. So I first have to put it down and then I can lift it. When you are returning the glove compartment, you don't have to squeeze the sides. You can just push it like that and that'll lock it in place. I just need to grab this dampener and I just put my finger over it. It snaps in place. Check that it closes properly. Now this dash cam is just a suction mount, so there's no laminate that goes with this. Simply clean the glass, press it here, and then it sucks in place. Now here's a different dash cam, and this one sticks to the windscreen, but first you will need to stick the plastic laminate. Notice there is a plastic laminate which you place on the windscreen on the inside. You first clean the glass with the rubbing alcohol, then you place the plastic laminate, and then you stick your dash cam onto the laminate. Right, notice the dash cam is off. When I press the start button on the vehicle to put it in the accessory position, notice the dash cam starts up. And when I press the button to turn off the vehicle, notice the dash cam is now getting ready to shut itself off because it knows the power is off. And then the dash cam shuts off slowly because it has a little internal battery.